I see that you have experience with pitch decks. You've been reviewing a lot of them. You've seen ideas in and out across startups in Africa. Now, is your opinion as regards the originality of these ideas? These ideas, do they speak to the African problem enough to be able to say that more than just try to raise funds for this stuff, it's really going to solve a problem? What do you think?
I think that as usual, you have varying shades of gray. Some kind of align with what you're saying. Some are not original at all. But I would say this. I would start by saying there's this old statement, there's no new idea under the sun. A lot of us are going through similar situations, just in a different context, in a different region, in a different location. So I hope that tips you off to making sure that you register your ideas, get things trademarked and stuff like that. Because again, with so many people in this world, somebody has come across the same problem you have, and they've thought about maybe I'm the person to solve that. Also, in the same line of thought, I think you have to look at several things. So there are a lot of people who are imitating ideas and looking at something that's working somewhere else and adding their own tweaks. But to a certain degree, I mean, you have multi-billion dollar companies that do this. You have global giants that are basically looking at some existing model and finding a way to improve it or do different things like that. If we make this interactive a little bit, I'm going to ask you a question, Chika. Who do you think was the first person to have an online ride hailing service where I can go on my phone and order a car to come and pick me up and drop me off?
Well, what comes to mind is Uber.
Right.
Okay.
But I
Yeah.
think you already know Uber wasn't the first one. It was
I
actually, I
mean,
think it was a company called Lyft or something like
okay.
that. It's some company that existed before that, but we barely know who that company is because another company came and did this idea better, brought it across the world, and now people are thinking that there are,
Right.
we have Legos Ride, we have Bolt. They think they're maybe imitating Uber, but they're imitating the company that Uber imitated. So again, I don't think it's the fact of like, are you imitating something? Is your idea the most original idea? It's just, are you serving a problem and do you have a unique way of solving this problem in a way that other people are not doing? I'm also in many ways a fan of what China is doing. If you look at China, whatever you see that's big and that's working and that's moving or anywhere in the world, China's going to make their own version that speaks to their people, that speaks to their culture, that aligns with what they want to do. So I'm also looking at that space where, I don't have a problem with Legos Ride, knowing that Uber exists. I love to see the fact that we have, some of our own versions of these entities that can definitely serve a need. So I don't want to keep going on too far. I know you got some questions, but yeah, I think there is a lot of original solutions here. There are a lot of things that are solving the problems that we have here, but there's room for imitation, there's room for duplication, there's room for niche things that serve small elements of the problems and different things like that. But I'm also, again, a firm believer there's no real new idea under the sun. Somebody has thought of the thing you thought about.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you very much for that. I mean, I was thinking about there was this rave of fintech startups in Lagos, in Nigeria, basically, and it was like that was the next thing after you have a toast. It was so everybody was trying to think about an idea where you could make payments accessible and payments and this and that. So it just appeared that a lot of people were not focusing on other areas that needed solving. They just wanted to look for a way to catch investor attention and then grab some money they can use to run a startup. So basically, that's the foundation for this idea. So basically, people need to start looking outside those areas.
I,
Yeah,
I agree with you 100%. We've been focusing a lot on remittance versus actual financial technology and innovative financial technology. but then
Okay.
also ask yourself the question: has the problem been solved?
Okay. Yeah. Very, very, very true. Very true. So now you have, like I said earlier, been reviewing pitch decks and you've seen people apply to get funding. And what, in your opinion, do you think these people miss out in the applications? What do you think they're not covering? What do you think is not attractive enough for anybody to put their bet on it? What have you observed that is missing in this regard?
um, I think so. Before we go too far, let's just say that when you're pitching people, that's just what it is. You're pitching a person, and every person that you pitch is going to have a different background, different insights, different expertise. All of these different things that may make what you put in your pitch deck stick out for some person, where another person would overlook it. So there is no direct route to market, so to speak. Everybody's looking for something different. But there are, what I did do in like 2020, and then a few times after, was survey a few investors in my network. And there were some key things that people spoke on and mentioned quite often. So I'll mention a couple of those here. The first one being understanding the market size and potential. So when you mentioned that last week, there was a lot of talk about basically, the market and different things like that. I think is very important, because when you're talking about the market, you're talking about your capacity to sell, and that speaks directly to how much money you're going to make your investor. And let's be 100% clear about this as well. The person that you're pitching, that you see as an investor, they may be a great person. They may want to make the world a better place, but at the end of the day, they want returns on their investment. So just make sure that that's the conversation that you're having. How are you going to make this person a bunch of money? That's what you're talking about. It's sales. It's sales, and not understanding through the conversation and through the pitch deck that what you're doing is telling a story that's going to lead somebody to an action, and that action should be investment, aka giving you money for a service or a product or a benefit. You need to be walking the walk and talking the talk. So in that space, people don't really put enough attention sometimes into the market, including your total addressable market, looking at the size of it. And even if you're pitching somebody, just keep in mind when you're pitching an investor, especially if it's an investor that's a part of a VC. The idea behind a VC is that they want to make, probably depends on who you talk to. Maybe it's 20 investments, maybe it's 30 investments, maybe it's 100 investments, but they understand that the majority of these investments are going to fail, and that the ones that do make it need to cover the losses of the other companies that they invested in. So that's why you hear investors, they're looking for 100x, 1000x, 10x, whatever the case may be. They're looking for multiples on their investment so they can cover their losses in other spaces. So when you are talking to an investor and you're asking them for $20,000, it speaks to what the potential investment may be. That may be too small. If you're pitching an investor and you're talking about how your business is going to take over Legos, that market may be too small. That maybe you should be talking about how you're going to take over the African continent, because again, they're looking at how they're going to multiply their investment, and that's you telling a $10 million, $100 million story. That's what they want to hear. And within the story that you're telling, just make sure that you have a clear call to action. Don't go through the process of making it feel like you're just informing the investor that you have a company that you're starting or want to start. There should be a clear call to action. I want you to invest in my company so I can do A, B, and C, and this is how it's going to benefit you. A lot of times what they're asking for just doesn't make sense, and you lose your investor even if you do have a good company. Some other areas are lack of respect to competition, just really not doing your homework and understanding who your competition is and what impact that can have on you. It can be the competition that's strong in the market, and there are also the people that came before you and failed. Maybe it's good for you to understand why they failed so you don't repeat those things, and being able to have that conversation with the investor is important. The financials. Make sure your financials are in order. Don't be saying that in the next 5 years, I'm going to make you $20 billion if you don't have a way to back that up and you don't have a clear route. Don't, just make sure that you have a clear forecast of what you want to achieve, understanding of your unit economics. How much does it cost to sell one unit? How is it going to scale? And again, being able to tell that story using financials. There's also, let's see. There's your pitch doesn't necessarily cover your unique selling proposition. So you need to be able to tell them what is your advantage over the competition and what's going to help you take over the market. Again, it's not just telling people that you have a product or a service. It's telling it why you're going to win and how it's going to make them money. And then the last two I would say would be, a lot of us are young. A lot of us don't have a team where you have a developer with 20 years of experience. You don't have a former ambassador, a governor, or some high level person on your team. Maybe you just have your friends and you guys put something together. So just be aware of what are the weaknesses in your team and how you're going to fix those, and be able to communicate that to them so they'll have confidence. And then the last one I would say is just show your work. If you have a prototype, a demo, a screenshot, something that lets them know that you're not just talking, you have something that actually works. So those are some of the areas I would say that you should include, like in your pitch deck and or your pitch.
That's really great. That's a lot. I hope people are taking notes. I don't know. I hope we can be able to cover this conversation. I'm positive on that. If you're watching us right now, and you can let us know where you're watching us from in the comments. You can share your insights that you're getting from what Sean is sharing, so that others can benefit from it. And yes, thank you very much for that elaborate answer for the question. So you mentioned something about sales, which would be a little digression that I want to pay attention to. Now, I heard that most of these tech driven or tech enabled businesses, tech enabled, for example, they kind of downplay sales because, of course, what they know is about sales is physical selling. So because they feel they have app, they have all their product is online, most of what they'll be doing online. So they don't need to interface with the customer. They don't need to invest in sales. They don't need to invest in that part that really brings the money in. And I just wanted you to help us clear the air on that notion that they might be getting wrong, and which would be very useful to their ideas.
So everybody needs to understand that there is a entire sales process. There are things. I need to even go read up on it myself. But there are steps to it, like how you prepare for a customer. How are you doing your background research and different things like that? How are you positioning the value that you provide and all these other different things? Again, a lot of this is storytelling and positioning what you have as an opportunity that's going to benefit the people that you're selling to. Unfortunately, there's a situation where people believe that it is the technology that they are selling when it's the benefit. You have to focus on the benefit. You have to focus on the actual service and how that's going to, again, impact and change their lives, and understand that the tech is just something that enables it, that enables that to happen. It makes it happen, let's say, more faster. Let's say it happens more efficiently, or any number of different things. But typically, you have to understand that we say it's tech enabled, but it's like it's tech that's enabling your business, or tech that's expanding what your business is already doing. But it's just not the tech itself. There's this whole ecosystem around it that you need to pay attention to. So, like, again, understanding your market, building out your customer profile so you understand what are the behavior patterns of the people that you're going to be bringing this product to. Where are you going to find your customers? what are some of the adjacent markets connected to where you may potentially want to sell, where you can find your customers already aggregated and waiting for you. So again, there just needs to be a lot of attention paid to the business part of what you're doing, or you'll just be one of many, many founders that have an amazing idea and maybe even an amazing IP, but they can't get it off the ground. They can't get it into the market. Business first.
Yeah, yes, business first. So, well, we can have another conversation on this
Yeah.
later on, but I want us to actually make progress. So, let's go and let's talk about idea valuation. What
Hmm.
do founders need to know about their valuing the idea, weighing the worth of it in the markets as well as in with investors? So because obviously a lot of people just go crazy about their ideas and then they don't know if this is even going to make any money, or they just feel like, oh, because some other person is doing it, they're making a whole lot of money. That's the way we started business before. That's how business operates. Where you see this other person is doing this business and is cashing out, and then the mindset is that once I do it, I'm also going to hit the bank. So how do startups, especially early founders, how do they get around idea valuation, valuating the idea?
Okay, so I'm not the biggest finance guy, so I know the edges of valuation and equity. So I'll give you what I can give you, and then if there's any questions, I can just do a follow up. But I think the primary thing that people need to know about valuation, number one, is that valuation is not like this hard figure that's just sitting there. It's especially when you get across the table from an investor. What you're having is a negotiation about what you think that your company is worth versus what they think your company is worth, because they want to buy a piece of your company, right? So you really have to understand, it's not just saying that this is what my company is worth, but also understanding and having negotiation skills, being able to do that background research on the market, on the space, on your unique selling opportunity, and being able to say emphatically and with your full chest, this is what my company is worth. I've seen people who've had to stare down investors and say, "This is my value. It is what it is. Take it or leave it," and walk away and see if that investor is going to call them back the next day. So it's a very risky business, and it's also like, again, it's sales. You're selling the value of your company to this person, and if they buy what you're selling, that equals investment. So again, you just need to know the land. You just need to know the environment. You just need to know how to respond. Kind of think of these things like you're playing 3D chess and think of it from different angles. Also understand, and we'll probably get into this a bit later, but also understand the background and the knowledge that the investor that you're talking to has. You do not want to be in the position where the investor knows more about your space or more about your competition than you do, because they're going to use that to arrive at a certain valuation. And once they're interested and they have you against the wall on valuation, knowing that, the lights are on and the lights are off, the fridge is empty, like they know they can see that hunger, they will use these things against you to be able to push down your valuation. Again, if you don't have a full understanding of what your company is worth and how to defend it. On the other side, I would say that you also have to be careful personally how you value your company. There are some upsides to giving yourself a really high valuation. And if you can sell it, I guess, if an investor, sometimes investors just have money. That doesn't mean they have intelligence, right? So, sometimes you can actually go for it and push the value of your company too high. I think we know what happens if you push it too low. Too low, you're not going to get enough money. It's going to make it difficult to sell or push the value in the future. You're not going to have the runway you need to keep running your company because you didn't bring in enough money. All of these different things are what happens when you price too low. But when you price too high, there are some upsides. You get more money coming in. You get more opportunities to do this, that, and the third. But the downside is it's harder to raise money in subsequent rounds. again, you're going to have way higher expectations from the investor and just generally from the community when you push your valuations up too high. And keep in mind, too, that they're going to be paying attention to your financials. So with each round, the general rule of thumb, again, nothing is law, but the general rule of thumb is that each time you raise, you should have at least a 2x increase in your valuation of your company. So if you already overvaluated your company and now you're looking at your numbers and it doesn't fit, it's going to be hard to raise money again because it's going to be looking like your company's either stagnant or moving down or showing negative growth. So again, these are just a few things. Again, we can talk about just valuation for an entire week, but I'll stop there for now. Or should I get into some of the other like major factors that you want to look into?
Yes, please kindly share. What are the factors?
Okay, so I guess if you look around, there are some things that there are some equations and different things that you would use. Sometimes you use one in one situation, sometimes you use another in those situations. But again, when you're evaluating your company, you're just looking at kind of some core areas. I would say one of the major things to look at is like just looking at the size of your company and the size of your how much revenue that you're bringing in. Again, using how much money you've made. If you're looking at how it's trending, like we've had 100% increase every year for the last 2 years. If we're going to say that this trajectory is going to continue, then this is going to give me A, B, and C valuation. You can look at, again, that kind of speaks to like your future growth prospects. What are the potential areas that you want to break into? What are potential pivots? What are potential features and different things that you're going to release in the future that are going to be able to drive in, again, additional revenue? Having your own specific IP and owning some type of, again, innovative technology or solution that no one else has. All of those things are things that kind of impact and drive up your revenue. You can also look at your competitive advantages to see that kind of like, what places you ahead of your competitors. So if my competitor raised 5 million at whatever valuation and I'm technically a better product than them, I'm a better service, then you can use their valuation and add a little bit on top for me. Um, so there are those elements. There's the reputation. Now, if you're known in the market for a certain thing and you're the best, you're the top one in a certain space, in this new space, again, these are things that kind of stick out to investors and can help you push up your valuation. You can also look at what do we call it? EBI TDA. So that this is where you start getting into more of like the math calculations. So that stands for earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization. And again, it's just a different way of looking at your financial performance. And what they're looking at is sometimes you have operational costs and different things like that. And these things are different for different companies. So if they don't have a firm understanding, they're saying leave all that stuff in, and then just tell me what your company is worth. And I can use that to kind of look at the valuation of your company as well. So again, there's like 150 different ways to evaluate it. But again, just understand that you are having a sales conversation and you are negotiating.
Awesome, awesome. That is really insightful. I believe we're all getting value. If you are watching, I'd say again, let us know where you're watching from and kind of share that with someone that will be interested. Obviously, it will help people who are looking forward to put for the idea before investors. And yes, so thank you very much for that again elaborate feedback on evaluating your idea. There are some other areas I wanted us to look at, and the terms of which I feel maybe you need to throw light on is the exit strategy. the exit strategy for the business. So if someone is thinking of putting up a business and then they don't know how to go out, and then how the investor is going to get back his money, I don't know if it is a thing, but I want you to shed light on that.
So So that's actually one of the things I should have mentioned before. But yes, your exit strategy is quite important. And why it's important is, again, just because of the reason that you mentioned, is that the investor wants to know how are you going to get out of your business. So again, being able to have a strategy that ends with you on the beach sipping pina coladas with your toes in the sand, it shows the investor that you're thinking far in advance. So there's several different ways that you can kind of exit. I think several of the major ways are basically just having a transition strategy in place, understanding that maybe I want to retire or I want to transition out at a certain period and being able to talk to through that, and then saying that, if it's building someone up or bringing in the person that you have, bringing in your replacement and different things like that. Again, being able to have those conversations would be quite important. One of the major ones, and the ones that that investors like, is really looking at an acquisition strategy. So again, a lot of times people are looking at people who may be competition in a different market or in a global space. What you have happening is that technically these may not be your competition, especially if they're huge companies. These may be the companies that would come and actually buy you. So if you're looking at kind of what gaps you're filling and different things like that, and seeing how you align with potential acquirers, that could definitely be a way that you would have an exit that would definitely be beneficial for your investor.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that. That was really insightful. We're going to also now look at ideas in terms of how to generate fund. And with your experience, you can tell what areas or what business ideas, what markets have you seen generate fund in the last few years, working with and seeing people submit their pitches? In your opinion, what do you think, or would you say? This is just a question aside. What would you say? What businesses have you seen generate funding more in terms of reaching out to investors?
Um, so if So I think it's fair to start by saying that the investment space right now it's brutal. It's a blood sport. Based on what's happening in the U.S. and the ripple effect of interest rates going up, this has made money more expensive across the world now. So I'm saying that because if we're comparing what was happening, you can even go as far as like 6 months ago, is different than what's happening today in a large degree. And again, with the interest rates going up, what was happening before was the money was coming out of the US at almost 0% interest rates. So to invest their money, they would actually, you had a lot of VCs that were taking loans and different things like that and using that money to bet on companies, right? And the expectation or the need of returns on their investment to break even was a lot lower. So now that money is more expensive, there's a higher expectation. So now they want, instead of seeing or having a focus on growth that you saw in the near past, now you're seeing a focus that's on revenue. How much money are you making, and how are you scaling your ability to grow your revenue? So in the past, you saw a lot of seed. And if you see what's happening right now, you're seeing investment still happening, but you're seeing a lot more Series A style investments. And Series A style investments would speak to companies that have existed for a while. They have shown traction. They are in a different phase of their life than startups. They have basically been proven companies. So that's where you may see bigger investment sizes, but it's a different type of company at a different stage than a lot of us may be in. But with that being said, of course, we all know it's fintech. I've been happy to see a bit more financial technology that's like actual innovation. So you have your monos, you have your one pipe, even another up and coming one that I'm watching, a company called Conduit. You have companies now that are really moving towards, again, financial innovation. Also, what's happening right now, or where you're seeing a lot of movement, is in the AI space. A lot of this is very similar to what I was seeing in the past with blockchain, where whether blockchain was necessary or needed, since it was a buzzword, everybody was just saying, "My blockchain this, blockchain that," to try to get some attention. You're seeing something similar with AI, but I believe that AI has a bit more potential, and I think it's a bit more accessible to a degree. It just happened to catch fire more so recently due to some, the chat GPTs and different things like that are kind of revolutionizing the way that we approach certain sectors. I also saw some activity in the gaming space, also looking at mobility and different things like that. Also, on the acquisition of data. So some of the more data focused organizations, I'm also seeing activities there, and that would look like, if any of you are related, are aware of companies like Steers in Nigeria. So there are those types that are bringing in some money as well. I would say that if you're looking outside of investment and seeing where money is coming from, like if you're looking at government parastatals, if you're looking at DFIs, and those type of organizations, then you would also look at things like agriculture and climate. So yeah, and then also, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's those are the areas that stuck out to me. I mean, again, the question is semi unfair because the truth of the matter is, for whoever you ask this question, typically you find what you're looking for. So people who are paying attention to certain spaces, you're going to see the things that that are active in that space.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you for that feedback. I wanted to share, if you're watching right now, please don't go anywhere. By the end of this session, I'm definitely going to be giving you something to take home, and that's courtesy of our guest speaker, Sean. So if you are still with us by the end of this session, you'll definitely get access to that, and that would really be helpful for you in your journey towards getting investments. Thank you very much, Sean. You've been most helpful. Kindly share your thoughts if you are watching us. Share the insight that you're getting, and share this with other persons around, those in your circle, those in your network, so that this can benefit them as well. All right, so now let's look at investor portfolio. We talked about investors, the kind of people you're talking to get investment. So there's a possibility that, I don't know how possible that is, that a great idea could die
Hmm.
because it didn't get the right funding. And that also could do with you not talking to the right people or not putting your best foot forward with the right persons. So looking at investor portfolio, should you be talking to anybody, and or just anyone you see on the road, on the street, or should you be more intentional about those you talk to? How do you identify this category of persons, and what
Hmm.
is it that you can use to put your best foot forward when speaking to them?
So let's just be honest. The most valuable thing that you're going to have in your life is your time. Your car can be replaced, your house can be replaced. Some, you ask the right person, they may say your wife or your girlfriend can be replaced. But the one thing that you can't replace is your time. So I would say that be very judicious and efficient with your time, and use it to do homework on what type of an investor would align with you. There, it's. I mean, in some cases, it's hard to find the data. But there are sites like I think what I've like if you can look around like Founders Institute, Crunchbase. There are different sites that kind of would give you the insights that you would look for. But again, when you're looking at an investor, also LinkedIn, different things like that as well, if you're able to get the person's name. But again, what you're looking for are, it could be any number of things, but some of them would include, or one of my favorite ones to look for is like, what have they invested in previously? So that would give you an insight into what type of things they're willing to put their money behind. You can also look at things like if like look at their expertise and their professional like work history, or again, if you get their LinkedIn, like what are some of their hobbies. Start looking at what are some of the things that they're posting on social platforms. Like, get to know what the investor cares about and use that to help you either A, filter them out of the people that you would reach out to, or B, that would also help you craft the story that you want to tell your investor, because you want to tell it in a way that makes the most sense to them. But again, those are just, again, a few key areas. What are they invested in? What are they interested in? And what are the spaces that they have expertise or previous work history in? Those would be a great place to start.
Awesome, awesome. Let's now take this to the nitty-gritty of things, which I believe can help a lot of people find their way or get started in terms of moving idea to action. All right. And let's look at what are the indicators when you're trying to go about finding a market fit for your idea. All right. You thought about something that you'd like to do. Maybe it's a problem that you're experiencing personally, or you think something you've seen around. How do you take it out from something that concerns you into finding if it is something that is of importance to a number of persons, or also to be able to gauge if this or whatever you're trying to solve really is a problem.
How do you know? So a lot of this is really just research. I think a lot of people do not do the necessary research on their company, and I say this applies to what happens like before you start your company, and then also looking at what happens after the company has started. There just seems to be a lack of knowledge. So again, when you're looking for product market fit, there are these different signs or these different things that you're looking for post revenue. But again, it's looking at are you really connected to the problem that you're trying to solve? Do you understand the problem that you're actually trying to solve, and who else is experiencing this same problem that you're solving? Is your solution, is it easily transferable? Translatable, meaning like if you offer the solution to this problem, is it going to be easy to understand what you're actually doing, the benefits, how it's going to change their lives, and different things like that. Like, those are like some of the clear things. Looking at the geographics, the region, how many potential customers could you have? I think also looking at things where like, is your solution one that is scalable? Or is it something that you have to keep tweaking and changing every time you provide this product or service to a person? Those are some of the different things that you're looking for. And there are certain signs you'll know that when you got it right or when you got it wrong. So they're the good signs you have, like having organic growth when you're having conversations and when you're doing your surveys and different things like that. Is there like organic interest? Are you telling somebody about what you're doing, and then the conversation shifts and they start asking you a bunch of questions? When it comes time for sales, or when you're sending samples and product service and different things like that, are you having conversion rates? Are you able to transition your outreach and your social media and different things like that to having people that are coming onto your platform, or that are saying that, or if you're having a wait list and different things like that, are you having people on that wait list? When you are bringing users on, do you have high user retention? If you have somebody use your product, do they come back and ask to use it again, or do they give you good feedback and different things like that? And then also looking at a product market fit, you also have to look at, and this is more strategic, but looking at how much does it cost to acquire your customer versus how much they're going to pay you through the lifetime of that product or service that you're providing to them. Um, I would say on the bad side, you'll start noticing that you don't have product market fit when you're not able to understand like a clear identity or a buyer profile for your product or service. Things like, are you able to give like a clear and present customer journey, helping them understand how do they get from point A to point happiness? If you're letting people try your service out for free and nobody is using it, that would show you that you might not have a product or a service that fits the market you thought. Again, if your sales cycles are slow and you're just not getting traction, customers are leaving you right after a trial. Those are the different ways you'll start to find out that you don't have a product market fit. But again, you want to get your idea in front of as many people as possible and create the avenues to collect feedback from them and be able to act accordingly.
Wow, this is mind blowing. I have for myself also got to understand that um, it's there's a lot more in just thinking of ideas and then what you need to put into consideration before saying that you really have something valuable or viable. I have had a lot of experience with thinking of ideas, and then they are awesome. They're really cool to listen to, even when I recite them to myself. Okay, but then I begin to think about what are other alternatives that people are using that people would prefer to use over what I'm using. Okay, so and then what are those challenges that they might feel like trying to use I mean, we most of grew up in or a circle where you get to um, work with people that you know as your first customers, basically your maybe your family, your friends. You find people, they finish developing a product, they don't interface with the customer at all. They just put it on Play Store and then they start telling their friends to go and download it. But then this is basically giving an insight into how you can succeed from the start. You don't have to finish building and then end up frustrated with your idea. Thank you so much, Sean, for that. I
Right.
still want to reach if you are okay.
I'd add one more thing. I would say anytime that you have an idea that you're thinking about turning into a business, do an entire business plan for the idea. Like find you a really good business plan template and do an entire business plan. I found myself getting halfway through a business plan, especially when I start getting into the financials and being like, oh, this is not worth what this, I don't want to do this.
Okay, cool. So thank you very much for that. I mean, because we have this understanding of financials has to be really they're rigorous, no doubt, but then you have to really be sure of your numbers. People don't want to go through that stress. They feel like, oh, I have a great idea, but that's not enough. So sometimes I would recommend that if you cannot do the financials for your business, you can work with someone that can help you go through that process. You don't always have to do it all by yourself. You can look at someone who's an expert in that space to help you go through that aspect of your business idea. So, up next, we're going to be looking at how do you. This is really a problem that I feel a lot of persons have when they see their idea and they say, "Oh, I want to. When I'm giving up my company, I want to be able to own it so much that someone doesn't kick me out, all right? Or they find themselves overselling, all right? Or keeping too much for themselves, too much of the company for themselves that they don't have enough they don't raise enough funds to get it to scale. So how do you get funding for your idea without selling out ownership? And I wanted to add this that a lot of people begin to seek funding right from the get go of the idea, which is not always the best way because you maybe start thinking investment as the first way out of you scaling scaling your business, even in the little steps. I don't know how that works because you may not even get investments right at the start. Okay, but then how do you get funding without selling out ownership? And how much ownership should you even have of your business that gives you a say and also protects your business?
So you asked some very, very, very questions, but I'll try to pull them in. So as far as getting money without, uh, yes, when they, great one,
Yeah,
Tony. So when you're looking at ways to get money and get funding without selling out your ownership, there are the couple of ways that we know. So there's grants, and then there's also different partnerships. If you're able to provide a service at a discounted rate or something where you have mutually beneficial partnerships. But the first one I would say is like looking at grants, depending on what sector you're in and different things like that. There's also looking at debt. There's the different loans and different things that you can take. From the investment perspective, if you're a U.S. incorporated company, you can start looking at what's called a SAFE, which is basically a convertible note where you're going to take debt that can convert into equity at a later date and different things like that. So there are those options there. But what I would say is, even though I'm very close to the investment space, I'm not necessarily an get investment or invest at all cost type of person. I'm kind of 50-50. If you can run your business without getting investment, more power to you, because again, you keep more of your profits, you keep more ownership. And with that being said, I know that this is not possible for all companies. There are a lot of companies that may have high costs, let's say high development costs, research and development costs, a lot of hardware, different things that they have to buy and stuff like that. So those they may need investment, especially when it comes to building out prototypes and stuff like that. But outside of that space, you should be trying to build your business in a way that you can start small and generate revenue. If you're able to really just really keep your eye on the revenue that you're generating and looking at, especially if you have decent profit margins, looking at how do I redeploy my profit to build out my capacity, or to even help me open up other lines of business that would generate other revenue, you would find yourself either A, bringing up your valuation that would increase how much money that you would be able to get through investment, or B, which is probably even better, which is basically you'll find out that if I just grind this thing out, I might not need to get investment in the first place. So my first thing I would tell somebody is in the very beginning when you're crafting out how you're going to run your business. If you're looking at your processes and your operations, focus on the revenue and build a business model where you can start some parts of it small. If you look at, if you're building a tech solution and you're looking at, let's say, the agile methodology, look at building out modules, look at building out small pieces of the finished product and build it out over time. But as you get through these small pieces, you can actually start generating revenue through the small pieces as you move forward. So those are some of the ways you can get funding without generating revenue. You can get inheritance too. Maybe that's one.
You said I didn't get that.
I shouldn't repeat it. I said maybe you can get inheritance.
Oh, yeah, that's an option too. That's an option as long as the inheritance is willed to you, obviously.
Comes at a
Okay.
high cost for somebody.
Oh, okay. So now take us through the appropriate funding stages that, given what the question you just answered, would you take us through the appropriate funding stages for businesses? So as they go from what level to what level, what do they need to have to be able to move to this level or seek more funding or even seek their first investment? Because I have worked with a lot of persons who feel like, okay, I need money to buy this, and then someone is willing to put in money but you cannot really define what that money is coming in for, and the person wants something in return. So you're not even sure what to give to that person, because they are putting in, let's say for example, a business that you know is could be valued over $100 million, for example, and then there's someone ready to give you $1,000 for a start. Okay, and you're just there. You don't know what to give in return for that. Of course, if it's your equity, I wouldn't give you equity for that. That's really really so you don't know what to give back to this person, because they're willing to put in. And I mean, $1,000 could get you somewhere, maybe with starting small. Okay, but then tell us, what are the different stages and what should you have before you start making a I want someone else's money.
So let's see. So before you ask for some, before you take money from somebody, there are a couple of things you want to have on ground. I think we've touched on them today. So having a clear understanding of the problem and how your solution addresses it, and what's the unique way that you're going to address it. You want to have your financial strategy down, like forecasting the sales and how much money is going to come in over what time. I'm glad you went over it last week, but having that clear understanding of the market, and its potential. And then also, again, understand your valuation and have a strategy for what you want to do with your equity on over the long term. Over the long term. And then that's going to take us where we end up today. So you have the first round of fundraising is really probably going to be you, your friends, your family, and fools. So that's the first round: friends, family, and fools. And again, this is when you're just getting things together, when you're still working on the idea, when you're just really trying to get certain people in order to get things moving. But this is when it's still in the idea phase, when you're trying to validate your idea and different things like that. And then from there, you move on to the angel slash, well, there's like a pre-seed slash angel fundraising stage. Again, I've seen these earmarks where, like, basically you have people raising a lot of money in these angel and pre-seed ranges. But typically, you're looking at something, and something under $100,000 would be kind of closer to what the expectation is. Again, if you're looking at friends, family, and fools, that's that $1,000 that you're talking about. Maybe you want to give them equity. Maybe you want to give them a hug and an IOU. I'm just saying. But when you're looking at the angel investors, of course, they're going to want some equity, and they're going to want to see, this is more than likely all going to be pre-traction. This is going to be early idea phase, having things together, having your company registered. All of these things start coming in play when you're looking at actually giving away equity. You have to have something registered, a legal entity, to be able to have these things. Having your business strategy in place, having an understanding of who your co-founders are going to be, or if it's just you. Just having those things in place, having a clear understanding of what your team makeup is going to be through the first, like 12 months or so of the company. They want to know that you have an understanding of what your business model is and what your operations are going to look like if they give you this money. And again, this is that angel slash pre-stage round. When you start getting into the seed stage round, you're looking at, anywhere between $10,000 and $2 million, depending on what you evaluate your company at. From this point, they want to see that you've organized some degree of intellectual property, something is trademarked, there's some type of, again, a clear-cut, unique selling opportunity. They want to understand that you have, that you're able to fill a gap, that your business model and your business idea has been validated. They would love for you to have started small and have brought in a little bit of, revenue somehow. But again, those are some of the things that they're looking for in that seed stage. But again, it's usually this is used to develop to get your idea to the point where it can be presented effectively to capital firms that have large amounts of money. So this is kind of getting you up into that stage. So from seed, you go directly into Series A. This is definitely going to be VCs or a group of VCs. They're looking at, do you have a product market fit, and have you proven that the systems that you have deployed within your systems are actually going to work? They want to know, can you easily like multiply your revenue within the next 18 months? So those are some of the things that they're looking for. So they want to also know that you have a team with the skill sets that can build the business for the next like 2 to 3 years. They're looking for big market potential. Again, opportunities to grow. They're also looking at things like micro market dominance. So you've transitioned from I'm a player in the space to I'm that guy. I'm that OG in my small pond. There are certain things that like that they are looking for. Again, systems in place that would allow you to scale. And again, you totally own your differentiator. In that Series A space, you're probably looking at, again, somewhere between, it could be 2 million, it could be somewhere around like 15 million, somewhere in that range. Again, I've seen bigger, and it's out there. So I don't let the numbers that I'm giving you limit you, and don't get entitled. Um, I guess we can go into Series B and Series C, but usually this is where they want to see your company grow to the next level in different ways. So this can be a focus on like, taking it to the next level in sales, opening up in different markets, expansion, pivots, looking at talent acquisition, developing new technologies. These are the type of things they're looking for in Series B. Again, growing past whatever phase you were in Series A, you've taken it up to a different level. Your company should be valuated at like $10 million plus. You have the right people, you have some top guys in place on your team, some industry leaders with hardcore experience. And again, you just have to be able to prove to your investors that your company is ready to achieve success on a larger scale. This can be anywhere between 15 million to $60 million. Again, in this space, since you're proven, the investors are paying more for less equity. Um, I guess the last one I'll go to is like Series C. And this one again is just growth and scaling as quickly as possible. You've already shown some type of unprecedented success. This is where you're the Microsoft, you're the Google, you're the InterSwitch. You're an international player. You've gone outside of one company and you're a dominating force in multiple countries. And again, this money should come in to secure you as basically the leader in the respective space for years to come. In this one, you'll see a lot of like hedge funds, investment banks, and different things like that. You're talking about some large, very large entities, and you're looking at anywhere from like $100 million to like billions of dollars that are being invested at this stage. So I'll stop there. I think I've seen people go as far as Series D and different stuff like that. But I'll stop there for now.
Well, that was wholesome. I am just in my imaginations are running wild, obviously, because if you're able to scale through all these phases, that means you've tested and proven that you actually have a solution. But what's running in my head right now is how do you begin to, at this different stage, you're definitely going to be, especially when from the seed funding, the angel investors, you're going to be giving out equity, right? You're going to be giving out to whoever is coming in to play a role in your business. So you might want to think about how you get the right um, uh, counsel, the right direction on how to go about this so that you don't sell off your company before you even start uh, uh, going global, obviously. All right. So I have a few questions you, and we will call it a wrap. So if you have questions and you're watching, kindly drop them in the comments. I'll take note of them and we'll share them with Sean. All right. So the next question, I think that's before the last question, is what other factors could affect your business plan, your business proposal or pitch, despite having a viable and a desirable solution on paper? Because obviously, an idea could be very great, the stats are good, everything on paper is awesome and excellent. What other factors would you want to look at when in such a situation?
So if it's very interesting that you say everything looks good on paper. Because that can be a bit misleading, right? So you can have a really good pitch deck that says a lot of different things, and then you get in front of an investor who starts asking you a lot of questions that may have some domain knowledge that you're not aware of. So again, I think it could be any number of different things. Number one, you could just be bad at presenting your pitch. You don't understand how to kind of position your company. You're not paying attention to the cues that they are giving you, and understanding like where do they want to lead, being respectful of time, showing up, and all of these little soft skills that are involved, and again applying the core elements of sales and storytelling. So those ones those are quick ways that you can kind of get the door closed where they won't hear what you're saying. Other things is just kind of like being able to give investor confidence. Unfortunately, a lot of people have a good idea, but they don't understand what it means to be a founder. You're a crazy person. You're a psychopath if you want to start a company in this world and in this economy, and you know that 80%, even before this economy was this way, 70, 80% of businesses fail. So there's a certain type of person that they are looking for. So, and I see this too often in the African continent, where I know the US and people from the US do a great job of selling things that shouldn't be sold because there's some unnecessary level of confidence in certain cases. And you have people who travel and come back and they kind of take a piece of that confidence, and then you can see them selling and then crashing later. But again, when you're sitting across from the investor, they want to be sitting across from somebody that they could eventually or at some point or already see as their equal. This, oh yes, it did, being all meek and shy and different stuff like that. That's not what they want to see. They want to see a boss. They want to see somebody that's it may not be today, but somebody who shows what it takes to be a Fortune 500 CEO. They want to see the next Elon Musk. They want to see the next Mark Zuckerberg. They want to see these elements within you. So you have to kind of show them that. So again, being able to show them that you're a leader, being able to show them that you have business acumen, being able to show them that even if they ask a question that they don't know, that you don't start stuttering and fall apart, but you can confidently say, you know what? I actually didn't consider that, but I'd like to go do some research on that and get back to you. Let's say we circle back in the next 3 or 4 days. Like stuff like that, where again, you're addressing them like you're a fully functioning human and you're equal to them, even if you don't have the money. So there's that element of it. Excuse me. Again, there's the element of like not properly doing your research. So I've talked about that so many different times. So I won't go too far in that one. One of the things I would say is like you can have a great idea, but if you have not gone far enough into the core elements of operations on how you're going to run your business, you could run into a problem. Like the devil is in the details, as we say in the great state of Mississippi. So being able to speak to like what are your strategic, what are your performance metrics that you're tracking? How do you know what success looks like at the employee level or at the business level? Understanding like when they start asking you about unit economics and what is the value of these things and stuff like that, what are the cost of goods sold? Like all of these little small questions that they could ask you that you may not have you may not have put enough ideas in, or you haven't practiced that part of your pitch enough because it doesn't come up as often. So again, just little things, even how you're going to be able to leverage the data that's created in your company. Are you aware of the value of the data? What are you going to do with it in different phases? There's also the things of like understanding the legal and regulatory requirements. An interesting thing about regulators and these legal people is that there's no reason to sue or fine a broke person. There's no reason to sue or fine a broke person. So they will wait until you start generating money. And that's when they pop up on you. I was gonna curse. I was gonna say that's when they pop up on your at symbol dollar sign. They will be on you as soon as you start earning money. So again, being able to have a clear understanding of the regulatory frameworks, because the investor doesn't want to lose their money either. And just making sure you're picking the right structures for your companies, understanding the impact of the contracts that you're signing and how either A, they can hurt you, or B, how they can protect you. I can keep going on and on, but these are some of the things that are not necessarily as highly focused on in the pitch. But once these things see the light of day, if you're not on it, it's a problem. And also, as well, you mentioned it with the exit strategy, but also planning for the future. Things like variable cost versus fixed costs. So a fixed cost is if you have to pay monthly rent, no matter if your business makes $1 million a month or $1 a month, um, your rent's the same, right? But looking at, do you have ways in your company where as your company scales and increases how much money that they earn, you're able to have a plan or a strategy that scales alongside? Or when you start looking around and saying like, oh, the money's not coming in like we thought, some of your costs aren't fixed. Are you able to scale these costs down to match what your income is? So like there are little different things that they look for, but again, a lot of it depends on who the investor is that you're speaking to.
Wow, that is really there. Thank you very much for Sean. It's getting very interesting, but we might have to call it a day very soon. So last question, I don't know, and it feels like we're so much enjoying this session that I mean everything is clear. So if you have questions, just drop them in so that will quickly. If I don't get any questions after this, we will have to say goodbye. So tell us, Sean, when you say do your homework, I mean you've talked about this a few times, but
Hmm.
I want you to help us get this straight. I mean, for people who are already working on setting up their pitches and all that, when you say do your homework, what does that mean? Do your homework for someone who is trying to get their investor attention. What is the homework to do? I've heard that a lot of times. They tell you do your homework before you come to investors. You don't just want to sell to them a fantasy. You want to sell to them something that actually is feasible. So please, I want this to be the wrap up for the session. That if we don't get any questions, so what in clear terms, what is do your homework?
To me, if I were to just make a quick connection between due diligence and between, I guess I just said it. I would say doing your homework is basically like doing due diligence on yourself. And basically, due diligence is like an investigation or an audit or a review to confirm the facts that you're saying is true. So, fact checking yourself, reputation checking yourself, auditing your own financials to make sure that you don't have any skeletons hiding and different things like that. We've touched on the homework of understanding your investor. Again, what is their level of experience? Where are some of the places they have worked? What are the things that they are passionate about? Where have they invested before? All of those type of things will help you lead the conversation when you're talking to your investor. And then again, it's when you're talking about doing your homework on the other side of it. If we're talking about a presentation, it's I can kind of sum it up in three things. It's kind of like know your worth, know your audience, and know your math. Those three core areas. But again, when you're looking at pre due diligence and doing your homework. It applies to like I think I'm glad you touched on it before, but doing your homework on your market research. Again, knowing what problem you're solving, how much money you're going to make, your financial projections, knowing things like internal case studies, trends, observations, things that you're seeing in the marketplace that when you're talking to your investor, it's not just the things that you've read in a book and these reports that you read 5 years ago. What's going on today? What's happening now? What are these things? How do you let me know that? What are you doing to keep up on the current knowledge of things that's happening in your space? There's also the homework of like your market validation. Like, why should we do this now? Being able to add that sense of urgency to the conversation when you're having it. So those are just some of like the key areas. But I would say like doing your homework is pretending you're an investor and going and finding out what it like again, knowing about the investor, but knowing about investment and what are investors looking for and comparing what the expectation is to where you are.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Oh, okay, okay. Thank you for the signal. Yeah, I must say this has been insightful. This has really been worth the time. I have gotten a lot of value because I keep learning, and this insights you've shared will definitely be helpful for me. The possibility that I'm going to come back and watch this video is 100%. So, yes, if you are watching there and you have gotten value, please drop it in the comments and tell us how this have helped you. I'm glad and excited that John, you agreed to come on this live session with me. I am more than honored. And please, if you are also watching, I said there was something that Sean has given me to give to you, so that if you want to get your hands dirty already, it will give you a head start in what you should do. So you I want to send me email, yes, I have just uploaded my email. You might send me an email right now, and I will share the resource with you so that you can get started.
Let me reshare that thing with you. I want to put it into a PDF.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. That's no problem. So please send me an email wherever you're watching. I'm going to share it with you, and all thanks to Sean for making this available. Of course, Sean is, like we mentioned earlier, when I was reading his bio, he's very, very passionate about seeing that some, African startups succeed, and then the ecosystem goes to what it should be. I am excited to people are already dropping emojis. Thank you so much, Sean. It was awesome having you. I am more than excited. Please follow Sean on his social media platforms. You can reach out to him. Sean, can you give us your social media handles so that we can write that out?
Which one should I share? So I would say
Okay, your
I can't
IG, probably your LinkedIn, of course.
I can't type on here.
All right. So I'm going to do the tapping here. I think
Okay,
I
I'll send
can.
it to you. I'll send it to you now.
All right. All right. Please do so that I can
2 seconds. Two
just
seconds.
share.
I appreciate that.
All right. Please follow him on social media. Connect with him. Sean obviously is available to help your company if you are already an organization looking at breaking even with investors and approaching them. You definitely can reach out to Sean to help you with this process. Okay, he has already sent a full loaded resource that could help you go through this. But then if you want him in person, you might want to reach out to him via his social channels. And yes, if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe and click the notification so that we are going to be having more of this in the nearest future. We started last week. It's going to be a jolly ride. Okay, let me see. Um, so you're sharing it with on yeah. All right. Uh,
I was gonna try to share LinkedIn. That's probably the best one. But I'm over here
okay, you
closing
can
out.
share it as well.
Okay, I'll share
Uh,
it right.
sure, then as well. I think LinkedIn is more official for corporate matters.
You'd be surprised.
Okay, please follow uh, follow at serious underscore black. I don't know why. I'm forced to ask. Is there a story behind serious black?
Um, I've been an activist for a long period in my life, and I was
Okay,
just considering
nothing new there.
myself a serious black person. And
Okay.
there was also Harry Potter that came out, which I was not a fan, but I love the name Sirius Black. I'm sorry, when I heard that guy's name, I
Okay.
was like, ah, I love it.
Okay.
I love that
Okay.
name.
All
Yeah.
right. So if you're on LinkedIn, you might want to go to this link, or you could just type in uh, search option on your LinkedIn, Sean Burrowes. Am I correct with the pronunciation?
Close enough. Sean
Close.
Burrows, but
Burrowes. Okay. Yeah, I was trying to pay attention to all the syllables. Okay, so please follow him on LinkedIn and connect with him. Reach out for investment matters. So, like I said, if you're following on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe and share this with someone who will definitely benefit from it. I want to say, in wrapping up, for watching from everywhere you are. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Sean, Albert. See you. Thank you for being here, and every other person that have joined us. Please stay with us. You can, like I said, don't forget to click the notification button. We are going to be more of this. We're going to bring in more experts on this space so that we can talk about how we can bring closer technology to the market. And that's why this is hosted basically by Tech It to Market community. And what we want to do is to see how we can bring solutions, technology solutions closer to the markets. All right. So, any last words, Sean? Any last words?
I think we touched on most things, but I would just say, okay, if I'm giving last words, just remember, focus on storytelling, focus on sales, generate
Yeah.
revenue. The market has changed. It's not just growth and hope. I want
Okay.
to see how
Okay.
much. Yeah. So those would
All
be
right. All right.
words.
Thank you very much. Focus on storytelling. Focus on sales. Focus on sales. These two things, whether you're doing tech, please don't ignore sales because this people want to hear the money, they want to hear the figures. So you need to get it right. Thank you again, Sean, for being here. I look forward to doing this again with you, possibly in a physical setting. I'm positive about that because plans are already underway for that. So
Sounds
this
good.
might be
Sounds good.
podcast session. We're already working towards that, but good that we are able to have this today. And thank you for joining us. I am really grateful.
No worries. No worries. You know, we're in the family now. We got to do what we got to
Okay.
do. All right. Talk to you,
Okay.
brother. Bye,
All
everybody.
right. Bye. Bye, everyone. I do have a nice day and peace.